Happy Father's Day. Yeah, I just found my dad has cancer actually yesterday. That's actually kind of funny. I don't care. He's a sociopath. But today I'll talk about a different topic. I'm going to talk about the difference between zombies versus sheeps versus demons. So do you know that worshiping doesn't get you laid for day game? Since my students, they don't worship me. I know it sounds crazy because we're so used to hearing about worshiping infields. That becomes a sheep or mentor worship. It doesn't mean it'll get you laid. But no one wants to listen to that. But the sheeps have like a low IQ. They have like a 20 IQ. In fact, you may be worshiping those without a single day game lay testimonial in 2022 and 2023. That's right. Oh, there's a thumbs up. Thank you. But I don't see anyone showing up yet. In fact, if they don't have a day game lay testimonial, then that doesn't make any sense. So what's happening is the zombie turned into a sheep. Zombies are fine. I don't mind zombies. I have a lot of students that are zombies. For example, they may have ADHD. When they have ADHD, they can't think properly. They're like subhumans, but they're still nice people. They have no component to worship. That is the zombie. However, for the sheeps, however, their IQ is lower. A zombie's IQ may be 70 or something. But for the sheeps, their IQ is closer to 20. Once they worship, their mind shuts down. You can't get through to them. Even if other dating coaches post stuff in fields or student results that they don't have any in 2022 and 2023, they still have to worship and suck the dicks off of the other dating coaches as hard as they can. That's just how they operate. So I'm going to share with you 3 secrets with you today that will revolutionize the way you think about worshiping, giving away your authority. So what is the zombie, the sheep, and the demon concept for day game? What's the difference? So let's talk about the zombie. If you're a zombie, which is common, it means that you are mindless, delusional, mass approachers. Doesn't mean you're bad people. Zombies are not automatically bad people. But that's just how they think, because zombies have no cognition. They can't think properly. Therefore, that's not too bad. I have a lot of students that fit under this archetype of zombies. However, that's not a big deal. By sheep, they worship infields and they give up their authority. You should see them. Once they give up their authority, you don't hear from them for 6 more months because they'll be probably buying people's courses and behind a paywall. It's not like the first time that it happened. It happens every single time. They don't get any sort of results from the courses. And they're always behind a paywall. These are like battered women syndrome. These guys are literally like women that gets beaten, like metaphorically speaking, over and over. And they always go back to the relationship saying, it's gonna be better this time. It's gonna be different this time, as they say. That's just how they operate. That's the problem with the sheeps, because the sheeps don't actually have any IQ. Well, there's really nobody here. It's probably like 10 something for some of you on the East Coast. But I'm gonna keep talking until somebody shows up. So that's the sheeps. They worship infields. But that's the funny thing about infields is that the zombies, they don't have to worship my infields. They don't even care. They just want to get results. They're like, the zombies like, John, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? But for the sheeps, you have given up your authority. That means you have given up your humanity that the zombies have. You aren't human anymore. In fact, the zombie's face, right, would turn into a sheep. So they're like, zombie, human. Their face would start to get longer and longer and turns into a sheep. And they start to go, bah, infield, bah. And you ask them questions like, hey, the coaches you're worshiping, do they have a single day game late testimonial during 2022? You ask them, or 2023. And they're like, oh, I've never thought about it that way. No, they don't actually have a day game late testimonial, but they will still worship regardless. They'll still worship. They'll start to think like, oh, okay, But he get results, I get. What if they're using game crutches? You ask them a question. What if there's a game crutch that they use in their boot camps that is not in their products, but it no longer works there in 2022 and 2023? What then? Their testimonials. Let's say they have like, I don't know, 20 late testimonials, but they can split 10 ways. 10 times in a row, they can split one student's lay into 10 of them. How am I supposed to compete against 200 pieces of student results? I could post 200 video testimonials or screenshot testimonials too. But they're going to look at that, the stupid sheeps with their low IQ, and say, whoa, there's 200 pieces of information here. They're too ADHD to look at all of them. And then they're going to look at mine and say, well, there's fucking, over 150 students laid. But it doesn't matter because the students get laid over and over. But they're going to ignore that. They're all going to ignore that and say, well, there's 200 here, 200 here. And that's the problem with Game Cheesy TV is that he doesn't have that, but he testimonial stuff. The sheeps worship the infields. They look at it and they assume because the testimonials are super long interviews, if the students gets late, then they'll write, oh, the student got laid, same day late. There's only 2 late testimonials. But the rest of the bootcamp stuff, he'll stuff 4 or 5 clips. There are dating coaches out there that turns you into sheeps that stuff more than 10 clips in a row. They'll say 10 clips for one student. So one lay, let's say they got 22 late testimonials and none in 2022, none in 2023. Okay. But they'll stuff that area with 10 each. That's 200 right there. I can't compete against deception like that. No matter how many late testimonials, like I said, the zombies are nice people. They just don't think too properly. But the sheeps, right, are different. The sheeps are the IQ goes down to 20. At least the zombies' IQ is 70. They can think a little bit. They're brainwashed by other coaches, but the zombies, when they train with me, they're very nice people. At that point, after they get their lay, then you can see what happens afterwards. If they skip the sheep part, they become demons. Not all of them become demons. Half of my students are nice people. The other half of my students, well, they turn into demons. So you might be wondering, well, what does this demon concept have to do with anything? Because some of the students, I'm just going off the top. I'm just looking at some notes, but I'm going off the top. But some of the demons, when they get their lay, their ego goes up. Their self-esteem will go down. So the zombies, just for people that show up, the zombies are going to be a little bit hard to think, right? Logically, they cannot think. Emotionally, they get triggered. The sheeps, however, will worship other dating coaches, but they won't think. Their brain, their logical side that the zombies have would be shut down. When that is shut down, for example, they'll worship, even though the dating coaches don't have a single Daygame lay testimonial 2022, 2023. But when the students get laid under my coaching, it depends how many lays they get. The first lay they get, they may start to act like their lower self. They don't listen as well. They don't listen as well, and you're like, well, what happened to you? The ego trip, the ego goes up, the self-esteem goes down. So when you try to talk to the student, hey, this is what you got to do next, their brain will shut down. Yeah, okay, yeah. They keep interrupting you. This is the demons. The demons are evil students. That means half the students become Sith. They become back to zombie. They're a Sith. They're a Jedi. A Jedi are the good people in Star Wars. They're very, very nice people. They become grateful. After they get their lay, they become grateful. But this is not something other dating coaches experience because they won't have the kind of student results that my students get. So as soon as my students get laid, some become a Jedi and they're like, thank you, John. I'm so thankful for the lay. But then you got the Sith, the demons. They'll be like, they'll be so angry. You can see how evil a student is after they don't need you. When they feel like they don't need you anymore, they become ungrateful. So they become sheeps again. As crazy as that sound, after you get them lay, they have to go back to worshiping a white dating coach. That becomes the sheep again, the zombie or the demon sheep. So isn't that weird? Let's say you get them laid and nobody else could. They have super low SMV. But it's always they have to worship white dating coaches first. That's the top tier. James Tusk. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Then you got to worship Charisma King, or you got to worship some other tall white. After that doesn't work, you got to worship your race. You got, whether you're Indian or whether you're Asian or whatever the race you are, Latino, you always have to worship your own race. It's always John Elite last for the sheeps. After you don't worship that, then you go to Game Cheesy TV with Too Late Testimonial. You worship his infield, but he's stuffed his testimonial section. These days, dating coaches without any late testimonials in 2022 or 2023, I'm pretty sure he got one in 2021. They'll stuff their testimonial section 4 to 10 times. You're like, what do you mean stuffing their testimonial section, John? I don't know what you're talking about. It's very simple. Let's say they have one bootcamp late testimonial, okay? One. They'll cut that into 10 different pieces. Long interviews here, then they'll start to put bootcamp clips there, approaches here, and eventually they'll show one lay. I can't compete against deception like that because when you look at their testimonial section, you're like, well, there's 10 extra ones there, but John posted 10 extra one last week. But it doesn't matter because all that gets canceled out. That's the sheeps. They don't think too hard. Like then afterwards, they'll start to worship Jan Lifestyle. Then after Jan Lifestyle, Queef and Casanova. And then on the very last place, the bottom tier, the sheeps will John Elite last. They have to get burned by all these people. But you have to ask yourself, if they don't have a Daygame late testimonial in 2022 and 2023 for the sheeps, how are you supposed to get laid? You ask these questions and you trigger them. It becomes like a cognitive dissonance. They'll be like, I don't know. They don't like to think, then they get angry at you. They get triggered by cognitive dissonance. I'm fighting against their brainwashing versus here's the truth. But when the two clashes, it spark an anger within their mind and their brain will shut down with cognitive dissonance. They're like, I don't want to think about it. Then they drop off and they disappear. And I was like, whoa, what happened? And they're gone for 6 months worshiping like a battered woman syndrome. They'll be gone for 6 months because their mind will be stuck. They'll be buying courses that don't work. I don't put my courses behind a paywall. But if the courses are behind a paywall, they're stuck for 6 months. And let's say, for example, they're engineers and you start telling these zombies, they're not zombies, they're sheeps. Zombies are nice people. But you start telling your sheeps, hey, listen, you're going to be stuck for 6 months behind this paywall of courses to unlock it. My one unlocks on day one. They don't even care because when they worship, they look at John Elite like they're crazy. That's why a lot of my videos, you look at it, there's like 50 views, 100 views. You go on the second channel, 53 views, 53. I'm shadow banned from YouTube because one of my thumbnails, they thought I was sex in it. After that, I got in trouble. So my algorithms are fucked. I'm very thankful you guys are here, even if there's a few people. But that's the thing, though. The sheeps will go towards that because the sheeps will add to the subscriber count. The more subscribers they have, the more sheeps they have. The things I say triggers that. And the demons, however, when they get laid, the first lay, they'll act a little bit evil, right? Like they're kind of suspicious, they're a little bit sneaky. But what happens after the second, their third lay, their fourth lay, as they progressively get better results? Because my students, they get models, they get actresses, they get white girls. If you look at UMP, other people sexualizing it, when I talk about that, I've noticed every time I talk about sexualizing, don't sexualize it constantly, I actually lose almost half the viewers. You see that? They'll drop off just like now, but they don't like to hear that because they're super brainwashed. A company called UMP will sexualize it all the time, but their students get nothing but 3 out of 10s, like 4s, 3s, 4s. They have a quantity, but my students have a quality. My students, like, let's say, for example, my students may get 10 lays or maybe 15 lays or 20 or 30. That's roughly average for the good students. Up to 46 and up to 150. That's average. But the progressively, the women they get with my coaching goes up because I'm teaching social skills, social calibrations, emotional control. And now I'm teaching for 2023 Arrow Theory game. They're worth 2.5 points each. 2.5 for social skills, 2.5 for social calibrations, 2.5 for emotional control, 2.5 for a game. Other dating coaches don't teach you these things. There's no actual social skills or social calibrations. They hunch. Their students, like, they think it's the lines. But now during 2023 and 2022, in 2023, they have no Daygame lay testimonials. It's not because they're away. It's more like they cannot get it because game is only 2.5 points. In the past, the blue pill, these guys used to get girlfriends very easily. But now 60% of people are single, believe it or not. 60% of people are single, not because of Tinder and because of social media. Tinder and social media was always there. They're there because of the pandemic, because of all the lockdowns. People stayed indoors more often. They have lost their social skills. The blue pill has lost their social skills. Now these sheeps that are worshiping, dating coaches, have lost their fucking minds. They have gone to red pill. So that's what's been happening. The zombies are still, they still kind of get things. They don't think too well, but they still understand what I'm trying to teach them. They're like, I get what John is saying. Everything makes perfect sense. They're like, I don't think too clearly, but I get what John is trying to say to the world. It all makes sense because I still get Daygame late testimonials in 2023. In 2022, I had a lot. That was the same time period when white dating coaches, the worship hierarchy, white first, then their own ethnicity, and then the white or Asian dating coaches, and then Johnny Elite last. But the white dating coaches in 2022 no longer had Daygame late testimonials, or it started to shrink. Someone like Evolution Daily or, even Lil Jew Parker, that guy, his testimonials they're all like tall, good looking male model white guys. And the only other person who got Daygame late testimonial in 2023 is James Tusk. But you might be saying, well, that's good. But you should see his instructor is better looking than all white people. James Tusk is better looking than the general population. And the student that got laid is better looking than an instructor and better looking than James Tusk. He's like 10 out of 10 or 11 out of 10. If that's the only people, and that's 2 late testimonials, guys, it matches Game Cheesy TV, Todd V's 3, because they don't get laid during that training period. But during this particular time, if James Tusk, the only person that got laid, is a 10 or 11 out of 10 white guy, you guys are all screwed. If you guys are sheeps, because the problem is that nobody in 2023 for the pickup artists are getting laid out there in Vancouver, in London, in Australia. Nobody's getting laid. These are the hot zones in New York, except for my students in 2023. My students are still getting laid, and they don't have to be tall, white, and good looking. I have 5 late testimonials recently, and one of the students is going to get married soon. One student had 15 lays. He banged 5 models, 5 white girls, 2 actresses, and he's going to ask one of the actresses, that's his girlfriend, to marry him. A Chinese student, 5'8". That's the kind of student results I get. Another guy, Latino guy, gets laid with a woman that's above, are better looking than other women he used to get when he used to UMP it. A lot of people would not like to listen to that. Don't sexualize constantly, because even though it doesn't work, it does work for people with medium SMV. Let's say you're a decent looking, you're a decent ethnicity, or a high race, whites, good looking whites. I mean, UMP, the people are nice to me, so it's not like I'm going to attack them. But I'm just saying it only works for medium, high SMV. When a low SMV people listens to them, you see, people drop off because they don't want to hear this. They're so brainwashed. When they do that, they never get laid. That Chinese student was actually, the same thing. He was actually listening to this company, UMP. It didn't work at all. It's 0. Chinese, 5'8", has 0 results. Person Latino with 6 out of 10 SMV didn't get like really hot looking women, but then when you train with me, it went up. That's the sheeps. So you're saying that student's a sheep? At that particular time, he was a sheep because he just kept worshiping other dating coaches, using their stuff, and did not work. When he switched back to my stuff, it works. So zombies are fine. I like teaching zombies. No problem. A little bit ADHD, a little bit autism. But the sheep's got to worship and make the same mistakes over and over because they override Johnny Elite stuff. The fucking demons, man. They got worship even harder than the sheeps. When they get laid from Johnny Elite stuff, it's like I installed a big Tesla battery into their thing. I supercharge their game. They're so busy getting these AAA batteries, these small things from all these other coaches, because game is only worth 2.5 points. They keep doing that. They keep mixing all this stuff together, but it's not bigger than the Tesla battery. The Tesla battery has way, way more charge, and they get laid with it. Then they have the audacity to go to other dating coaches with my fucking Tesla battery. And this is the worst thing, because my student with 150 lays became an instructor for UMP. They become a fucking instructor using my fucking skills, my Daygame system. How the fuck do you use my Daygame system and go over there? And then don't you realize that's my fucking skills? I'm teaching him the stuff that I teach my students, and they become an instructor. It's okay. The student's a very nice guy, and he has a lot of skills. He has good social skills, good fashion, good body language. But that's just the thing. I'm just preaching the truth, but people don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear that sexualizing it constantly, but you gotta sexualize it. It makes no sense logically. The sheeps have to listen to it. They worship so hard. But there are other people that are tall white dating coaches who talks about sexualizing it constantly, but they don't actually have any Daygame lay testimonials outside of tall whites and a token black. That's it. That's all they have. Maybe one token Latino, one token black, and all white guys, but very few lay testimonials. The sheeps have to worship. And that becomes a major problem. So, as I'm saying, and they always funnel you to boot camps for the sheeps. And during the inflation, there's no Daygame lay testimonial. They may show testimonials from 2022 and 2023. I mean, they don't show that. They show 2020, 2021, 2022. That's the time period when the pandemic happened. They have testimonials then, but they don't have it 2022, 2023. It became too hard. The reason why it became harder is very simple, because women used to get locked down from the pandemic, but they can still work at home, so they're still making money. Their minds are still okay, survival, replication value. Get a little bit of value, you still get that lay. A little bit of social skills, you still get that lay. But then afterwards, when the inflation happened, the women's money is eaten away by the inflation. Her money in 2022 and 2023 is eaten away. That money is worthless. Now her mindset's affected. There's a lot more objections. There's no such thing as emotional objections dealing as a logical process. And also using game crutches doesn't work anymore during 2022, 2023. It's not because they're absent. Is that the people that are worshiping these infields and they're worshiping these bootcamp clips from 2021, 2020 are not going to get laid. They're Daygame courses that never work, but you tell the sheeps that. They're like a battered women syndrome. No matter how many times they worship, they could be zombies when they're nice to me. They're like, yeah, whatever, John. They could be mindless. They can be emotional. But as soon as they worship, all that shuts down. All the emotion shut down. All of the thinking patterns shut down. Their face turns into a sheep. The IQ goes down lower and lower. Now they're worshiping. They're worshiping 2020 infields of boot camps, 2021, but not 2022, 2023. The courses don't work. You try to tell them that, because the game crutches that we're using in the boot camps. Okay, what are game crutches? Maybe they're using status maxing. Maybe he's using status. The coach's status, you don't have it. So therefore, you borrow the status from the coach. It doesn't work for you when you're back at home. Other game crutches. Okay, I can only speak for myself and what my students do or don't do. I can't speak for other dating coaches, nor am I talking about other dating coaches, but let's just talk about game crutch that I've heard about, which I think is unethical. I'm not saying any other dating coaches uses it, but if they do use it, it's very Machiavellian. The crutch is using alcohol and wrestling with her in the bedroom. What I mean by wrestling? I mean, you try and pin her down. And then she submits because she cannot consent because she's drunk. So that deals with the objection. But that no longer works in 2022 and 2023, because now she has more objections. She has like 3 or 4 in a row. For every one objection she has 4 objections. And that's why a lot of people are stuck without the arrow science of 2023. The sheeps just have to worship that. They cannot think for themselves. There's no critical thinking. There's no counter unbrainwashing, cult unbrainwashing. They have to worship. That's what makes the sheeps very weak people. They have no cognition. They got to worship 2022 and 2020 and 2021 infields or before of students, but they don't have anything for 2023, 2022. But how is that okay with you? Let me ask you some questions. If there are sheeps out there, you ask questions and you make them think, but they don't like to think. So the first question you ask is If they don't have a day game lay testimonial in 2023, ABCs of Attraction, for example, does not actually have any students laid for day game in 2022 and 2023 using the mystery method. People are like, I respect mystery. I say, I don't respect mystery. I don't, because that stuff has ruined Asian people. They use a mystery method derivative, but have not been able to get a day game lay testimonial in 2022 and 2023. The only person they got like polling is in 2023 once, did not get laid. They polled. That's it. But the night game stuff, the students did get laid, which I have to give credit where it's due. But when it comes to day game, it doesn't work. And when I talk about sexualizing and people drops off, and that rarely works for any, like if you want to get 3 out of 10s, you still get some kind of results. More power to you, worshiping. But if you want to get like my student results, they're all banging like, not all of them, but some of them bang white girls, some of them banging models, some of them are banging like, they're getting girlfriends in one day. They're getting laid in one day. As soon as they can pull women home and they use arrow science, automatic lay. This is necessary. Arrow science is necessary. This is the conversion mechanism. That's not alcohol, and that is not status maxing, because I believe that kind of stuff is going to stop working in 2023. In fact, 2023 has been the hardest year of teaching day game. Although I still get students laid because they're dipping into the social skills, social calibrations, emotional control. That used to work in 2022. But in 2023, it was not enough. That was 7.5 points, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. That 7.5 was not enough. Now they have to dip into game, which is the arrow science. Now that's like fucking 10 points. 10 points plus their looks is 17, plus the money, plus because they don't have, everyone's a different ethnicity. That's what gets them laid. But the problem is that people cannot focus now because there's an inflation. Pandemic is fine. People can work from home. If they work, they still make money. The inflation does not eat away at the food prices. But when the inflation starts eating away at their money, now they're Maslow's chart of human needs. When you look at the bottom, I had papers, before showing all the Maslow's chart of human needs. I just don't have it with me right now. But on the bottom, the human needs are like eating, sleeping, temperature control, using the toilet, shelter. That was the basic human needs, but it's barely being met. So people are fucked up. And they go through the 7 stages of grief, which I talked about in my last video. Did you know that people are so distracted now? And this is why it's making day game hard. Because they're so distracted. On the YouTube live, for example, my videos will get a lot more views. And you're like, you may not think so, but my videos will get a lot more views. For example, when you look at the last video, it only got like 8 hours or something on YouTube. I know that sounds crazy. I'm not talking about the mental trauma cure, although that's very important. But when I show you that, why is everyone feeling depressed and triggered? And a lot of people, they voted that they don't have a lot of money. So how many hours is this? I want to show you the mindset and the focus of the sheeps. Most of the sheep's audience are in the video section. If you're still here, that one person, you're part of the zombie or enlightened. So here's the last video, 8.6 hours. You see that? And this is for the video. You see that for being triggered. You see that on the top left? Same thumbnail. So you're wondering, how do the people think? Because if they're affected, women are affected too. The same video on the live, if that's 8 hours, right? How many hours is this one? Why is everyone feeling depressed? I'll get to the point why this is important, because this affects your cognition. Okay, I'm gonna show you right here. You won't even believe it. What's the difference between a zombie and a sheep? The sheep's super ADHD. Look, 67 hours for the YouTube live. 67 hours. I know that looks impossible, but if one video is getting 67 hours, I'll show you right here. Same video. See that? Same thumbnail. 67 hours. No joke. Right here. 67 hours. No deception. Then there's a difference between the audience. But let's talk about that. The sheep audience are super ADHD. They cannot focus. They got to worship because they're not getting any sort of money coming in and they're living paycheck to paycheck, or they're broke. Now they have reverted to worshiping. They believe it's safer to worship like sheeps. That's right. They believe it's safer to worship. And now their minds are shut down. They're not going to get results. They can barely afford these courses. and they're going to be funneled into a boot camp. For the ones that do have a little bit of money, they're going to be fooled by game crutches. They're going to be fooled by game crutches. And that's the problem. Okay, so let's continue. No amount of lay testimonials I post to the sheeps, the ones who mentally shut down during inflation, their delusions, is not going to matter to you. I'm posting all these screenshot testimonials of stuff people have not seen. Some of the students did not make a video testimonial. I posted that stuff, and you're like, they don't even care. It's fucking up my algorithms. I'm shadow banned. They don't even care. They're like, I don't get it, John. What do you mean? What do you mean? They'll rather suck off an infield and worship, even though it's been padded 10 times, rather than listen to Johnny Elite. People are losing their fucking minds. The sheeps are losing all their logic. They're losing all their reasoning abilities. There's no reasoning ability with the sheeps. They're dumber than a bag of rocks. So the dating coaches now, because they can't get Daygame lay testimonials in 2022 and in 2023, now they're just doubling down worship. Now people have lost their mind. They have doubled down worship. They gaslight you. Now you're in their fucking farm. So what do you mean by farm? Sheeps. If the wolves capture the sheep, they can put them in the farm. You buy their courses and even their stuff with bootcamp testimonials, all 2022. I mean, 2021, 2020, and before. But then you ask them, right, does their course work? You say, hey, does their dating coaches courses work? And then you look at the testimonial section. It's all stuff from boot camps. So let me ask you, sheeps, a question. If it's all boot camp clips as the sample of their coaching, and you buy their Daygame courses hoping it works, hope is not a strategy, by the way, how are you supposed to get laid? Let me ask, that's a hard question for an answer. I know there's not a lot of people online. There's not a lot of people online. In fact, this video, right, because it's too late, whoever is in here, right, I want to say thank you for being here. That's still listening. But I want to ask the people that may watch this later, how are you supposed to get laid if there is no proven track record that their Daygame courses work? The second question is, if they don't get laid during the Daygame course and it's all boot camp clip stuff into the courses, won't you be funneled into a boot camp or into the farm? That's why I ask the people. I'm completely censored on YouTube and the search engine. I'm completely censored, so you won't see much of my videos. But I will try to push through the algorithm or shadow ban. As long as I preach the truth, people will listen. But how are you supposed to get laid? That's the problem. The sheeps will be gone for 6 months behind a paywall. And when they don't get laid, they come back to Johnny Elite like, bah, John, you're the best. You're the best dating coach in the world, right? Or Daygame coach in the world. Bah, you're the best, right? They'll pretend to be your best friend when they left for so long. They'll pretend to be your best friend, which is insane. But you were gone for 6 months. I've been posting nonstop testimonials you ignored. Sheeps. How are you? That's the thing, because they're weak-minded people. They have to worship. The people that worship always has a sociopathic eyes. They always have this death stare, like all of them. They're the same people that worship are always the sheeps, the zombies, the sheeps, the demons. The sheeps that turn into demons are always the guys with the sociopathic death stare. They're angry that I got them laid. Angry. Because they don't want Johnny Elite to get them laid. They rather have a coach they worship get them laid. But since they cannot get laid with the coach that worship them, they'll go back to them. They have to worship. This is insane. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. I think the sheeps are actually insane. According to the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. How are you supposed to get different results worshiping when the only place you're getting laid is with Johnny Elite? Why go back to worshiping? You're thinking, oh, I got the pieces from Johnny Elite's Tesla battery now. Now let's go back to worshiping. The demons are the worst. They're the guys who bench-hold. The Indians. That's why I kicked out all Indians. If they get results, they think they're a god. They get a few results here and there with my coaching. They think they're a god. They start to go into a lower self. The first lay, they become their lower self. The lower self means like, the higher self means altruistic year. Altruistic means like, you want to help humanity like I do. You're a good person. You think of the higher self. You help people. You enlighten people. You try to get them laid as fast as humanly possible. You don't want to waste their time. You rather get them laid with less money that they have to spend as fast as possible, so they don't have to end up in a boot camp. Altruistic, higher self. The lower self is when they're in survival gear, like in India. Everyone lives in survival gear. Everyone's trying to scam each other. That's just how they think. They're just Machiavellian people. They have this sociopath death there. But let's say, for example, the person starts ego tripping. They start making more money, scamming more people, job centers, etc. Then what happens is they turn into bench holds. They they backstab. So that becomes what happens. But it's the same mentality for the other sheeps. They worship, but they're still training under Johnny Lee in their lower self. They still need to get that laid. So they're only nice to me because they need me. I'm the only one who can get them laid. Afterwards, when I do get them laid, they go back to worshiping. They're like sheeps. But then they turn evil. They turn on you. You get them like more lays. They turn into Sith, the evil Sith. It's like Jedis are in Star Wars. I'm not sure if everyone watched Star Wars, but the Star Wars, the good guys are the Jedis, the green lightsaber guys, the blue lightsaber guys, the blue sword. They're the good guys. The evil guys have the red swords and they have these crazy eyes. They turn evil. They're emotional and they're evil people. And that's what's happening with these people. They're turning into Sith. And the more you get them laid, the more power you give them, you empower shitty people. They start to act so evil, they cannot control their emotions. They'll tell you they'll never backstab you. They're always the first ones who backstab you are always the ones with a death stare that tells you they'll never backstab you. I can't believe other students did that. They cannot control their emotions after the lay. Other dating coaches, the reason why UMP and other people sexualizing it do not get the people to ego trip is because they're banging 3, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, sexualizing it constantly. 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. They cannot ego trip because you can't ego trip banging 3 out of 10s. You feel good that you got that lay, but you don't feel like ego tripping like my students bench holding. When they bench hold and they turn evil like a Sith, the sheeps, you get them like so many lays. Now they think they're gods. Not only do they not need you, they think they can defeat you, which they can't. And they always get cut in half like Obi-Wan Kenobi cutting down Anakin Skywalker, who became Darth Vader, the big villain in Star Wars. When he was fighting with Obi-Wan cut him into pieces and left him in the lava. Then he had to put a new armor over him. That's the problem with these guys. They're evil people that turns into Sith. I empower shitty people. I empower people that don't even deserve to get results. But that's the thing with my student that got 15 lays, 5 models, 5 white girls, 2 actresses, and 1 he's engaged to. The Chinese student, a millionaire student. Even though he is a sheep, and even though he was a zombie, he's a smart guy, by the way. At that time, he took an RSD boot camp, worshipping like a sheep. He used UMP stuff, used a tall white dating coach stuff, sexualizing DHV stories. None of it worked. He did all that, but he never turned into a Sith because he was a good person. I taught him to be more religious. He turned into a Christian. He became a very good person. Now his business is going up. He's being blessed. So the good people who are Jedis will have a very blessed life. Those who are Sith will usually get cut in half and kicked out. Those guys will be stuck at some point. They'll be stuck plateauing. They'll never get better without my input. Those are the sheeps. But the sheeps don't get much results from other coaches. The ones who worship are low-level sheeps. They may get 1 lay in the boot camp. They may use game crutches. I'm not going to specify what the game crutches are. But I'm just saying my students don't use game crutches. They use social skills, social calibrations, emotional control. No game crutches whatsoever. None. So, but the good guys, they'll remain as a zombie. It's not a problem if you're a zombie. You can't think properly, but you understand. You're an enlightened zombie. I like zombies these days. Maybe not before the pandemic and inflation, but during this time, they're like the closest thing you have to a normal case these days. And yeah, once all the people lose all their money, they lose their minds. When they lose their minds, they worship, they double. So as I was saying, let me continue. Thank you for being here so far. But that's the thing. You wouldn't know in the process of mass spending for all their courses, their online training and their boot camps, which waste a year and $10K total. as your worship. $10,000. Let's say, for example, you bought all their courses, not just one. Let's just say you decide to go on a spending spree. You like one course, you buy all their courses. My stuff works. The difference between my course, anyone can claim they have the best day game course in the world, whatever. But my one's the best day game course, Elite 30. It still works during the 2023 inflation, 2022, all the variants, all the lockdowns, all the pandemic. I have the best day game course in the world. Other people cannot claim that because they haven't got a single day game lay testimonial for their course. If my course, Elite 30, just has nonstop lay testimonial, it is technically the best day game course in the world. It's not a worship course. It's not like you worship the course to get a preview of their boot camps. And if the only people that get laid in their courses in boot camps, then you're funneled to a boot camp. That becomes a big problem. People don't have critical thinking. I'll ask this question again. If you see their day game course and the only people they show is from their boot camps, and they don't get laid in 2022, 2023, here's the $1 million question. How are you supposed to get laid if their stuff doesn't work for the course? So if you buy their course and you're stuck for 6 months worshiping it like a sheep, ignoring John Elite, when John Elite is the only one getting lay testimonials in 2023. The only exception is James Tusk. He has 2 lay testimonials. He got his second, but a tall white guy who's 11 out of 10 looks like a male model. If that's the only people that are getting laid in 2023, and in 2022, all the other coaches, the white coaches, they used to have tall male model looking students that gets laid, but it became like less and less. Rather than having that all the time through night game where they pull like a couple of times because they're tall and white. For day game, those testimonials are less. How are you supposed to get laid if tall, white, good-looking guys are not getting the results anymore in 2023? How? John Elite is the only solution, but why will you worship? That's the problem. Why will you worship when the only solution is here? When the only proven solution, while you're still worshiping 2021, 2020, and before infields of students from other coaches, and they're padding their testimonial section. For every one lay, they're posting 10 fucking padded videos. Now I have to compete against that. I can't compete against deception. So for the sheeps out there without critical thinking, how are you supposed to get laid? But no, John, you don't get it, John. If they're busy in 2022, they're going to worship their courses. They're going to go to their boot camps and they're going to get laid in 2023. Here's what I'm going to tell you, the truth. 60% of people now are single. The world has changed. People, okay, everyone's gone. This is too much for them to take. But the world's single because now economic problems, just like Japan, people are not into dating as much. Second of all, if they're not into dating as much, it affects their motivation. That's why people avoid it. They're depressed because of money problems. I'm still going to preach the truth despite people leaving. Number 3, with money problems, they'll be more delusional. They'll worship. They're always depressed because they're incompetent. More money, more ego, less self-esteem. Less self-esteem because of ADHD during this inflation. They're fucked. They're mentally fucked. They got to worship. But they don't even have the money to pay for their courses for other coaches or the boot camps. But they still got to worship. They're kind of fucking stupid. They're insane. The fucking sheeps are insane. And the demons, too, are just fucking assholes, the bench holds. So, yeah, let's continue. As I was saying. The demons, you can tell how much your students need you when they don't need you. They tend to be ungrateful. And they see, even when they see my screenshot testimonials of students they've never seen before, the ungrateful series, doesn't matter. When their results are good, they start to backstab you. They think they're a god. They bench hold. They're evil. They'll backstab you with a sociopath death stare. They all have a sociopath death stare, these fucking sheeps. These are usually when my students get laid with my training. Some are evil. As soon as they get their lay, half are good, half are evil. No dating coaches go through the kind of things I go through for the students turning into Jedi and Sith. It's very simple because they don't have this kind of student laid testimonials. My students get laid over and over and over and over. It's sustainable. Their stuff is not sustainable. They're trading everything for a game crutch in 2023. which will not work anymore due to the inflation. They're trading it all for a game crutch that no longer works, has expired. They're not going to get any more bootcamp late testimonials in 2023. Only I'm going to get students late in 2023, but they're dipping into the like 10 extra points now. That's fucked up. The world has changed. Even the blue pill no longer has the 2.5 points of social skills, which are usually higher than your game 2.5 or less. So, as I was saying, okay. So the first thing about it is most pickup artists are not normal people. Everyone has a different sexual market value. But I've noticed they still have the same delusions, ADHD, narcissism, and the sociopath opinions as facts. But they are usually harmless if you don't trigger the zombies. Even if you do train them and you yell at the zombies with their delusions, they'll still get in line. This is important because you are not the same as the general population. You are zombies. You're autistic, ADHD, sociopaths. But it's okay if you're enlightened. They don't have sociopathy. They don't have ADHD. They don't have delusional disorders. They don't have autism. But without these traits, you can't mass approach. Because when you're delusional, you can mass approach. Normal people can't do what you do. When you're ADHD and half-assing it, you can mass approach half-assing it with game tactics. You don't like to level up. And the second secret is, the main thing to understand here is that the zombies can turn into sheeps once they worship. Worship. Zombies are fine to deal with until they turn into a sheep. Zombies are humans or subhumans, but humans nevertheless. But when they see the infields, or coaches says some self-proclaimed high leg count, they can't verify. Then they flip your procreation switch. It's a part of your brain where you worship someone and put them on a pedestal as the leader of the tribe, the alpha. It's evolutionary psychology. And you submit your brain to them, your authority, and this becomes a cult. You become weak-minded. When I talk about cults, people drop off. And people were not watching my last YouTube live talking about sociopathic cults. And even if it takes you a year to be in their farm, you buy their course, you waste 6 months in a paywall. You waste another 6 months for online courses or a year. And you still have to wait for a fucking boot camp when they fatten you up. That's 1 year of your life that's gone. That's the opportunity cost. You could have got laid before a year over here very quickly. If you can pull, you can get laid by using aeroscience. There's no paywall behind my courses. That's all I'm saying. Once you get it, you get the course right away. In most cases, if you follow their stuff, you don't get laid. And if you do, it's always a game crutch from their boot camps, never from their courses. I can't speak for anyone else, but one thing I can say that's certain from my coaching, I'm not saying any dating coaches in particular, but to use alcohol in their boot camps to bypass their consent, and their students do that, and they don't show that through the students' infields, it only limit their students' ability to get laid. That means they can only trade everything for 7 days in the boot camp or more for one lay. And they will not get results again without alcohol. So the only women they'll get is when she drinks during the day game session. You have to pull her and she has to drink. But you have more objections to deal with. So how is that supposed to work? How is it supposed to work in 2023? It may work in 2021, 2020, and before that. But 2023, it will not work. I don't condone or recommend that. That means I will not teach that. There's a zero alcohol policy in my bootcamp. Plus, if the students uses that, their day game courses will not work without it. So you're worshiping day game courses, you're worshiping infields, you're worshiping all this stuff without the game crutches. I'm not saying that their stuff has game crutches of alcohol, but if it did, let's say hypothetically, that means if we imagine these alcohol, hypothetically, unethically, then their courses will not work. How are you supposed to get laid without alcohol in wrestling? And that's the funny thing. When I teach a lot of Indian students lately. Every single Indian student needs to use alcohol. I cannot get them to stop it. It's like, dude, I taught you to use aeroscience. They have to use alcohol. I was like, dude, don't use alcohol. Somehow in their mind, they have to use alcohol, or their accent and all these other things, their Indianness, their skin tone, they feel like they cannot get through to her. But if you sound whitewashed like a white guy, then you can get through to her because she doesn't look at your skin tone. You're part of their tribe. That'll cost you a lot of money, man, if you worship. And only those who are engineers, they'll prey on you. They'll tell you that, as your engineers, that you're not getting that late, so you can't focus on your job and make more money. You can't focus. But in reality, you don't make more money because you're an engineer. And my students that gets late, they actually focus less on their job because their ego goes up and their self-esteem goes down. It's all a fucking lie. They don't actually, get better. They may feel relief for a while and wasting like 10K. Let's say in total. It doesn't mean you always spend 10K. They may spend 8K or fucking 7K or even 9K. Doesn't mean it's 10K. But it's just like, it's a lot like therapist. Therapists, they make you spend a lot of money. You spend over like $18,000 with them. You spend over $18,000. And you don't get over your mental trauma. They want to extend this and they want to make this as long as possible. It's the same thing with dating coaches. They want their courses to last as long as possible. They want their online to be as long as possible. And their boot camps, they want to funnel you there. They want to make as much money of you as possible. But what they don't realize is even though I have more students laid, even 2023, is that even if I get them laid faster and I solve their problem faster, believe it or not, I actually still, you may think, well, they make more money long-term with those students. I actually make more than them altogether because I have more students. I still got programs that are expensive, like 3MP, which is good for the engineers. I can get them laid without boot camp. Don't you get it? Why is this thing going back and forth? Okay. But you get the point. If I can get them laid less than 10K, less than a year, very quickly, if they can pull. Some people can get laid in one day as soon as they pull. Some can get laid in a week or two. If they can get laid that fast, why would they need a boot camp? I ask the question. Everyone's dropped off, and that's normal. When you ask them questions, you make them think. Why would you need a boot camp and waste 1 year in 10K and worshiping in fields of students that did not get laid in 2022, in 2023? Their boot camp infields of students are all 2021, which is easier, or before. Why would you do that? It's about an hour. Let me just finish up the video. Okay, I know it's a little bit late, but the wolves will laugh their way to the bank. The wolves in sheep clothing, they pretend to be your friends. So when I talk about worship, these guys will unsubscribe and stop listening to me in some of my videos recently. A lot of people have unsubscribed. They subscribe, unsubscribe. My students don't worship me, and they're enlightened. They're Jedis who think for themselves. The half-evil types will follow the Sith as their master. Even when they learn the ways of the Jedi, they have to go back to the Sith, the evil people with the red swords and their red eyes. Once they turn into a sheep, there is no amount of logical reasoning or proof you can show them with lay testimonials that you have. They'll look at you like you're crazy. They're like, huh? I don't get it. Well, sheep, you turn into a fucking sheep. You lost your fucking mind. But they're in the process of being in a farm and they get ineffective courses. They'll sign away their life for over 6 months. They might even be funneled into an online training for past a year or maybe 6 months. Then all of them, if it doesn't work, they get funneled into a boot camp. So it depends on how much money they have. So if you don't have enough for a boot camp, after 6 months, they'll come back to me, the Jedi Master, like Obi-Wan, and they'll pretend to be my best friend, like, Obi-Wan, we love your training. It's amazing. We're sorry for being evil, for being a Sith. What was I thinking, right? My bad, as they say. My bad. I turn evil again, like a sheep that turns into a demon. My bad, John. My bad. Once they go from one course to another with a shiny object syndrome, with low SMV, they always, stuck to not getting results. One day, after getting burned by 10 Daygame coaches for these sheeps, they go to Johnny Elite last. That means all the sheeps always worship a white dating coach first. Then they worship someone their own race getting burnt. Then they worship other Asian dating coaches. Oh yeah, I'm listening to Game Cheesy TV with 2 fucking lay testimonials stuffing their fucking testimonial section, which is only like stupid sheeps. Then, oh yeah, now I'm worshiping Jen lifestyle. Yeah, I don't go fucking direct on my students, assholes. That Jen has 0 late testimonials actually for Daygame. Only one for his course, mostly night game. But listening to Queef and Casanova, the guy has less Daygame late testimonials, mostly night game. Then listen to Johnny Elite last. Even if I post nonstop late testimonials, none of these coaches have. Even a fraction of mine, they can post like fucking 22 of them and pad them to be like 200. But the sheeps are so fucking stupid. They're insufferable. And here's the third secret. The Daygame demons or the Sith. Most students who get late faster than the entire 1 year process of that funnel, their courses don't work. So I'm a little bit hungry right now. I'm a little bit dizzy because I'm dizzy because I haven't ate anything. I'm still intermittent fasting, but I missed it because I have a lot of things to say. So online training for half a year. They're waiting for a 7-day boot camp, which still takes time. It's like waiting for a doctor appointment or a hospital thing. My dad now has cancer. I just found yesterday. He has to wait a month because the doctor is on vacation. You still got to wait on top of a year that you're stuck in their courses, in their online training. You still got to wait for that boot camp. So you're losing over a year of your life. Like I said, I'm very happy about that. I don't care. So sociopaths deserve what they deserve. But my 5'8" millionaire Chinese student got laid so many times within a 6-month period. 15 lays, 5 models, 5 white girls, 2 actresses, and 1 actress girlfriend. But he's a Jedi. The good side won. I always have to teach him to hard reset. After every lay, when he turns into a Sith a little bit, his eyes turn red, we got hard reset. Be a student again. You haven't learned everything. But his results gets crazier and crazier. They got hard reset again. Eventually, it's so hard to hard reset. Now he has an actress girlfriend he's going to get married with. It's hard to hard reset, isn't it? When your results get crazier and crazier. I mentored him because his half Indian friend says, you should go UMP or his other place. No. So after every lay that he goes through, hard reset. It's the same with the tall black students with 46 lays. In the past, he could control his ego tripping, his Sith behavior. I kicked him out twice. The first time he stopped listening to me and went to fucking Tinder. He lost his fucking mind. I kicked him out for a year. He came back begging. So I let him join again. Then he got a bunch of lays, but he didn't pay me again. He only paid half for elite access due to being fucking poor. And he went back from being a fucking zombie to being a fucking evil Sith again. So he went back to night game. Instead, he bought bottle service without a lay. He kept buying bottle service with every fucking dollar paid Johnny Elite last. Massively ego tripping. It did not lead to a lay. He was a Sith. I kicked him out again. I empower shitty people. He kept making excuses. Oh, there's no one to approach, John. If there's someone to approach, how do I do it? Give me it's like, fuck you. It's your reticular activation system. You only see what you want to see. So in your mind, if you think there's nobody, then there's nobody. When you think there's somebody, you find them. It's just excuses, your perception. Another student, a London student with 10 fuck buddies, 5-some, 2 models, 1 model girlfriend, and he got out of game. The students all go through the exponential growth. They may not get the highest lay count, but they have the most quality, even exceeding most dating coaches. While other people never experience this for UMP, they're always like fucking 3s and 4s. That's all they're banging nowadays. I'm glad they're getting results. Good for you. But if you're banging like, lots of 3s and 4s, you're not going to feel good about yourself. You'll never reach the exponential growth of my students. I'm sure they're nice people. And my student was a coach for them. My fucking student that got 150 lays. Great student, by the way. Nice guy. Very teachable. But it was my skills. I mean, even my students, I level them up 150 lays with my Jedi skill set for a short while, but still became a coach for them. However, their students are like medium SMV and higher. Usually gets like 3s and 4s out of 10s. So they never reach this exponential growth, as I said. The lower SMV sheep's worshipping never gets any results. When you're like a low value Indian, or you're low value Asian, and you have no fucking value whatsoever, you try to sexualize it in DHV story, it never works. Or if it did work, it will never work for Asians usually. But if it does work, you only get like 3s and 4s. They all get stuck. Even if you get laid through other like dating coaches in fields on the courses, their long online training or boot camps, with their conversion mechanism or game crutch. You traded everything for one lay. You wasted 1 year. You could have got laid for 2023 during the summer. At least that's when this video is being made. If you just come here, if you just put your sheepdom behavior, your weak-minded thing, is your IQ. I don't mean like intelligence. I mean like your delusions, your EQ. How triggered are you? And your spiritual IQ, how evil or not. Does that make sense? If you're evil, you'll backstab. If you have all three IQ problems, you have EQ problems, and you also have a spiritual IQ problem, like you're not religious, it doesn't mean that all religious people are ethical people. You could be religious and still evil. We call these people Indians. No, he's joking. But because they're, worship some elephant god. They're just evil people. Doesn't matter if they're religious. So that's not my point. I just can't think of another ethnicity that's that evil. But anyways, that's just the thing. If you have all three IQ problems, EQ problems, spiritual IQ problems, you'll backstab. I know, because when you look at their death stare, you have to disarm and block them. And I know what you're thinking. Well, John, I'm not as sheep as you think. You will not turn evil. I hear that from the most evil people. I look at their death stare. They always tell me, John, I'll never betray you. The first thing to do is sink that fucking knife as hard as they can into your back. As soon as they get their lays, they think they're a god. When you let them go and their eyes turn red, it turns back to normal. They're like, oh shit, what have I done, John? And they already got blocked. And like, fuck, I'm so sorry. What the fuck have I done? Now they're stuck by themselves. You no longer empower their shittiness. That's the thing though. Even if you let them back in and you empower their shittiness, they turn into that. You let them come back to your training, they're just going to get better results. They're going to think they're a god again. They turn into more of a demon, into a demon sheep. The worship again. That's the thing. That's the difference between a zombie, a fucking sheep, and a fucking demon. I fucking hate demons a lot, these students. I got so many fucking demon evil students and so many good. I empower shitty people. But you need to worship. You need to suck the dicks off of other dating coaches. You need to ego trip after your lay. Since it raises your ego and lowers your self-esteem. If you get good results like my students, you get mentally stuck faster and having a hard reset. So yes, my students have to keep hard resetting after every lay. Some people that had a dry spell for so long, they don't continue because they're emotionally retarded. They get their lay and they're satisfied because it took so long and they no longer practice. They got their results, they're emotionally retarded. It's okay. They're a zombie. They did not turn into an evil person. They just dropped off and they just went back to life. They worked again. But like I said, it doesn't mean that you make more money. It doesn't mean you can focus more on work. You become less emotional. It's all a lie. That's how they get you into their boot camps. They tell you that you're working super hard for no reason and you don't get that light and you cannot focus. That's what they tell you. That's how they game you. They make you feel so bad. They'll even try to talk about black pill shit. And since there are a lot of their students who think about that kind of stuff, they'll go red pill first and then black pill. The engineers. But most of my students are engineers now and they're getting laid like crazy. So you don't need that kind of shit to be gamed. So with the worst ADHD, right? Even when you have the ability to pull with my training, use the 2023 arrow science of maneuvering, sexualizing it to the max and objections looping, you get laid in 2023. So I'm a Daygame coach who has 582 lay poll testimonials. More than every Daygame coach in the world combined for Daygame. But you're not listening. It's like they don't have 2023 lay testimonials or 2022. So what the fuck are you going on about? You're going to waste a year or over 10K. I'm not saying all of you are going to spend 10K, but the ones who do, you're going to be funneled into their boot camps. I can get you laid in a fraction of the time and a fraction of the cost that other dating coaches has when you worship. So what I did is I create the perfect bundle just for 2023, and that's proven to get students laid. Right now, last month, there was like 5 late testimonials in May. Right now, when I made this video, if you see in the future, it's June. So I'm just saying, like, I have late testimonials to prove it for 2023. So what I've done is I've given you the best option to win. Since I have the best Daygame courses and the best bundle, I have to be unethical to not push this harder towards you guys. 2023 Aero Science. Also, you get my mental filter, so you don't have to make excuses. You don't have to try to consider like a lot of students. The zombies, there's two different types of zombies, right? There's the good zombies who still try their best, and there's the unteachable cases. They're complete sheeps. They have no brain cells, and they're uncoachable. They don't deserve to be here. They always just fucking like make excuses, 5 excuses in a row. They consider what I say, don't accept. And then they start to delay like a day. If you delay by 365 days, right? When you think about it, if you times that by 2, right? If you make excuse every single day, how many excuses have you made? So, how many excuses have you made? One second, times 2. That's 730 excuses. You basically delay your lay by 730 days. If you make excuses, you push it off. The more excuses you make and the more you delay things, the longer it takes to get you that lay. It might even take you years because you can't do it my way because you're considering. Because you guys are delusional because you don't have money. You've lost your fucking minds during this inflation. You worship super hard like sheeps. Zombies turn into sheeps because of the inflation. Lastly, I hold you accountable for that with the Aero Theory Science bundle. You can also tell me which, mode you are right now. For evil ones, if they're depressed, snowflake cunts, who needs you, they'll be nice to you. But their lower self, their sneaky self will show up. They're in a survival gear. They're hiding their knife before backstabbing you. So number 1, the higher self gear, higher road, altruistic. That's the gear I operate from. Number 2, the depressed gear. They need me. They are nice to me. They're depressed, but they're nice. They're like zombies. Number 3, lower self gear. I already got them laid. Lower self-esteem, high ego, deluded, screwing everyone over, or kind of being sneaky, unselfish, ungrateful. Number 4, the lowest gear. Eyes turn red, evil after some small success, or they get a lot of success. Higher ego, lower self-esteem, backstabber gear. This is when they're bench holding like an Indian. They either quit game or they can't handle the ego or they turn evil. So just to recap, it's almost one of the 3. It's either a zombie, a sheep that worships, or a two-faced bench holding demon student. Number 2, the enlightened students might be zombies, but they're never sheeps. My students never turn into a sheep. They never worship me. They never worship other dating coaches. They just do what I say and get their lays. They get unbrainwashed with cult deprogramming. Number 3, this is where the POAs get their sociopathic, sneaky, creepy behavioral traits. Right? Number 4, they look at their eyes. They'll give you a death stare. Number 5, you can tell which mode they are in right now. For the evil ones, they're either depressed snowflake cunts who need you, or they're in a lower self sneaky survival gear, hiding the knives, or they're backstabbing you with a demon gear. So click the link in the comments section and start to implement 2023 Aero Science so you can get laid faster. I also have the 3 months of proficiency bundle, which is good for engineers. Better than their fucking boot camps, which includes mental trauma and cure program, since it has all the Daygame courses and online coaching in one. Better if you are logical and make a lot more money per month. Otherwise, go with the 2023 Aero Science bundle. But today I'm talking about the 2023 Aero Science bundle, which is amazing. So I'm Johnny Lee. I can't wait to see you on the inside. Have a great day. And besides, I'm the only one with Daygame lay testimonials, whether you like it or not, in 2023. Outside James Tuss, who has 2 lay testimonials, who got a tall, good-looking 10 out of 10 guy laid. White guy. Outside of that, you have no other choice but to train with me. You don't like me? Too fucking bad. Tough fucking luck. Too fucking bad. You deserve to fail. That's all I gotta say. Only I'm getting Daygame lay testimonials. You're worshiping 2021, 2020 stuff. And before for other coaches and their students. You're worshiping old shit that's no longer relevant, that no longer works. Because game is not enough and game crutches is not enough. And my dad got cancer. Fuck him. Today's Father's Day. I just want to make a video here. Anyways, I can get something to eat. I'm very hungry. I've not eaten yet. I just woke up. Hair's messy. I made a video. Anyways, Johnny Lee. Oh, even though there's nobody here, they might see it tomorrow. Fucking sheeps.